What is seeing energy like? This is a question that often comes up in my practice. What do the different energies look like? If I'm seeing energy, what does that mean? Am I seeing it properly? Why do we all see things a little bit differently? To start off, if you're completely new to the idea of seeing or sensing energy, this is an ability that all human beings have. We all just do it a little bit differently. In the same way as we can each look at a physical object and see and describe it in our own way, so is our experience of the energy world. Physically seeing things requires light to bounce off the object and into our eye, but the energy world doesn't reflect or refract light. Because of this, energy doesn't actually look like anything. It has no visual information for our eye to register. Instead, we sense the energy in another way. That way creates the same sort of sense information that our eye would create, and our brain then takes that information and translates it for us, just like it does with any visual information that comes in through our eyes. So when we sense energy, a base level of information comes in, and our brain refers to our experiential Rolodex of reference information to help us define it. We actually do the same thing when we visually see something new. For example, if I see a new animal I've never seen before, I'm likely to describe it as being similar to another animal that I do know, while also explaining the differences. If I saw a tiger for the first time, for example, I would say something like, "It looks like a giant tabby cat, but with white on its face and darker black stripes on its body." I'm using existing experience and associations to describe the new experience I'm having. Human brains do this with absolutely everything we experience. Everything is contextualized with reference to our previous experiences. So, in a way, we bring our own bias into everything we see. And that's no different for our experience of the energy world. For some of us, that means that we see energy as colors, which have particular associations for us. For others, we see images from our brain's files of experience that best represent that energy. So if I'm experiencing a negative energy, I often see or sense it as black, tar-like, heavy, sticky, and icky feeling. And if I'm seeing a higher energy being, I see them as glowing, beautiful silhouettes. They kind of actually look like the aliens in the 80s movie Cocoon, for any of you that are familiar with that. That's exactly what they look like to me. At first, I just took for granted that that's what those energies actually look like. But later in practice, when I stepped into someone else's energy field, the appearance of my light beings would change. If someone had a Christian upbringing, suddenly my glowing aliens looked like an angel, wings and all. And over time, I came to realize that it was the same energy viewed through different experiential glasses. Or it's the same energy being translated by a different set of files in the reference file box. Another way to think of this is that the energy speaks to us in our own language. The symbolism of the angel told that person everything they needed to know about that energy in as efficient a visual as possible. And that's why we all see things a bit differently. We've all translated the information with our own files of experience. Fortunately, if we grew up in the same culture, there's a lot of similar life experiences and similar files in our reference boxes. So we can usually understand each other's references relatively easily. I have no trouble understanding the angel symbolism, even though I wasn't raised in Christianity. And most people have no trouble understanding the white light beings I describe from the same energy. The same goes for negative energy symbolism. Usually, even if the imagery itself differs, the feeling of the imagery is the same. What I might see as a black lamprey energy, someone else from my same culture may see as a black cloud of buzzing insects. In each case, our brains interpreted the actual energy with the closest conceptual visual we could apply from our box of experience. Where things can go a bit hazy is if your patient owns a bee farm and adores bees, but I, for example, am terrified of them. I'm not, I love bees, but this is a good example. Then when I see a cloud of black bees swarming around my patient, I might interpret that as awful if I'm afraid of bees, whereas my patient actually interprets that as something awesome. When we're seeing energy in our own energy field, then our own interpretations are usually the key. Whereas when we're reading energy on another person, it can be their interpretation that's the key to our understanding. So you could need to know your interpretation or theirs. And if you aren't sure which interpretation to use, always ask your gut. It's always going to give you the guidance that you need.